Hi everyone. Today I am very lucky to have two returning guests for a very different type of videos. So I have Abby and Maya. So from Abby SB Read and Maya from Sunflower the Blurred on Instagram. And we are here today to talk about a very sensitive subject. So the place of women in comics. Hi girls, how are you?
Hi.
Hello. I am tired. I'm sleepy.
Aren't we all? Amazing. So let's start by asking you a very deep question. Um, how do you feel about being a woman reading comics? I know we touched a little bit about it in our individual Meet the Community, like with Abby and Maya. But like, I just want to first of all establish what's your position on the subject. Like for example, um, do you think that we have enough representation, or do you think that we don't have enough representation?
I think that in 2020, as it stands, we have so much more representation than we had when I was growing up. That I was aware of. I think that a lot of personally for me, I feel like as a woman, if I were to go and look for comic books that were specifically geared towards women, I could find like hundreds of things that I was interested in that had a great story, that had a great art writer and an artist and things like that. And I would not have that trouble. I do want to say though, growing up liking comics and just nerd shit in general was a task. Like it's still hard. Like talking about gatekeeping before in one of our other episodes, um, it's just like really interesting to me how men sometimes think that their genitals like determine whether or not they like something more. And you're like, dude, what? that's just not that's just not true. Like I just don't it's just so weird to me. Like I don't understand that. But I enjoy the boom of women in comic books that there's been over the last like decade, I want to say. Because like and I love the focus of it because it's more like, a lot of female women who write comics are like writing mature things for like adult women, and I'm like, yes, this is the best. Like I kind of love this. So yeah, I think it's awesome. I think it's like the best, most inclusive space that I've been a part of as a nerdy person.
Well, as a,
Amazing.
as a newer person, yeah, I mean, there's a lot, almost like overwhelming.
Yeah.
But it's for me, I've only been finding it with indie stuff. Like I'm struggling when it comes to the big two. It's like they're non-existent there. So that definitely needs to change.
Yeah, there's 100%. There are a lot of there are not as many women in the big two as there are
Oh,
who write for like indie comics. And it's so interesting because like if they do have women write for the big two, it's usually something that's like hand fisted in there that's like super OD female empowerment. And like while sometimes like that may be great for some people, like sometimes I just want a natural story that tells me a story and doesn't make me feel like I should be like like
mhm.
I have to like it because she's a woman. You know what I mean? Like I
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
I do not appreciate that. That insults my intelligence. I'm like I can pick things that I like because they are good things and not because she's a lady, and that's frustrating to me sometimes.
Yeah.
I totally agree, but I'm really happy that you said that, Abby, because that's what I said with I did my video with Ryan
Hmm.
and Todd Balloon, sorry, and I was like, I might be like, I don't read Marvel and DC, so like, I might like be alone in this, but I'm really happy that I'm not alone thinking this,
Yeah.
because that's definitely something that I noticed.
I mean, the only girls I guess like I've been reading in like DC has been these books, the DC Ink stuff, because it's kind of
Yeah,
like
from Raven, I've heard a lot about this one.
yeah. So it's like this is the only stuff I've really been kind of able to find, and then I think Gail Simone's like Batgirl, I've read that, and then a few sprinklings of her stuff, but she's really the only main one that I really know as like a newer person, and so I've definitely been kind of like struggling to just find something in there that I can read. So it is kind of like annoying, but at the same, I don't know. At the same time, I'm not really like actively seeking like I got to read something that a woman wrote. You know what I mean? Like I kind of just want to read something based on if the story's good or not, and I don't really, regardless of who wrote it. So if it happens to be a woman, awesome, that's great.
Yeah, you don't pick a book because it's a female lead character or something like that. You pick it up for the story.
Yeah, the story for me is like really, really important. Of course, like the art is what pulls me in first, but if I can't connect with the story within like the first 1 or 2, 3 issues, like I'm done. Like bye. I don't care who you are. Like I want to continue reading it.
100%. 100%. I can't. I hate that notion that like just because somebody wrote something, you have to read it. I'm just like, nah, man. I didn't like that at all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I feel
Yeah.
that.
Or you know, you've got people who are like diehards for a particular writer or a particular artist or whatever, and then when you're like, well, I don't like it.
They're like, how could you? How dare you?
How dare you?
You're not a true fan. And you're like, all right, man, my fault. I'm not beholden to names and statuses. Like, yeah.
But I feel like I don't know. It might be just the Twitter like atmosphere, but I feel like if you don't agree with let me quote this, true hardcore fans that are usually male, you're automatically like not a real fan because you don't agree with them. Like that's something that I stumble upon in terms of like comic reader, and that's something I disagree on. But yeah, that's just really annoying. Let me ask you girls, how would you define a good female character? What's the characteristics that you are looking for?
I love this one. I want to go first.
Let's go.
So I literally was thinking of an answer to this question, and I didn't say anything about it purposely because I figured you would ask this question. I hate men writing women. I hate it. It's always so awkward. It's awkward as fuck. It's so weird. And it's like, and then she bled from that part in her body that I don't know much about, but blood was coming out. And you're like, oh, gross. Like, why are you writing about this? Like, women don't want to hear about this either. Like, it's so clunky and awkward. And like, I love how, like Sex Criminals, big, I talked about this when I did like a mini review of it. Sex Criminals is written by a man and illustrated by a man, but Susie, a female, is one of the larger characters, and it's about sexuality. It's about exploring and finding yourself. And they're like, how could 2 men possibly know what it's like to discover your sexuality as a woman? Because those are very different experiences, And so he talks about how he wrote something, gave it to his wife, and she was like, what the hell is this? This is garbage. and she helped him write some of the parts that was like, meant to be like pubescent, like going through puberty, like finding yourself and like things like that. And I was like, that I love that, because some men think that, oh, I got it, I can do this, and then it just comes out sounding creepy and weird, and like they didn't even know that a man like thought of this in his mind. And you're like, no woman wants that, like and sometimes I read things and I'm like, you can tell a man wrote this. Like no girl would think of this thing to say to a man. Like, you know what I mean? Like I think sometimes it just comes off so awkward when men write for women. And I can 100% agree with a man writing a woman if he, at least bounces the ideas off of a woman. Like, hey, I want to write this thing. Do you think that would be something a woman would say, or how she would respond to this situation? Like, I would appreciate that more than just, trying to feel like you have the superiority in the conversation about a woman's body. And that's what I don't like.
Okay, well, let me link something right here. Brian K. Vaughan. Have you read Paper Girls?
Yes, love him.
Yeah.
Okay. So, but he writes, for me personally, I think he writes great female characters. Like in Paper Girls, the 4 characters are amazing. But he's a man,
Right.
So
I think he once said in an interview that he consults women that he knows.
He does his research.
Right. He does his research. Mm-hmm. He does that in order to bring the characters to life so they don't feel like a dude, like a grown dude wrote them. You know what I mean? And I love that. That's why his stories are so good and they don't feel weird to me. Like, I can read about a girl struggling with her sexual identity and not feel like he got it wrong completely, because I've been through that and it's totally not fun. Like, so it's like, it's nice to have men who are considerate of that difference. You know what I mean? Like, because I feel like I don't find a lot of women writing male characters nearly as much as men write for female characters.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna let Abby talk because I've been talking
more. For me, I don't know. I think it's so annoying that women get pigeonholed into only writing as women or whatever. Like, a female writer writing a female character. You don't see enough women writing male characters, even though the men write our characters.
Right.
It's like, why doesn't it work both ways?
I think it's, yeah, that's so interesting to me. Like I don't think I've ever. There's a few that I cannot think of off the top of my head of women writing male
I
characters.
know there's a woman, she wrote Aquaman, I think. Isn't the most recent Aquaman by a woman?
It's highly possible. I want to say the translation of I know this is a different nerd space, but anime, a lot of popular anime is written by women, created by women, and dudes eat this shit up and they don't even know. They don't even know. Like they're like, oh, who is the first X character who does blah blah. You like, bro, you do realize that Attack on Titan created by a woman. Freaking I just saw a list about this that I didn't even know, and I was like, that's wild to me. Like that you gotta gatekeep me as a woman, and like a decent amount of the popular anime is written and created by women. But like, go off, sis. Like, do your thing. Like, I just think that's so interesting. Comic books wise, I don't understand where the disconnect is with that. To be honest, like I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't think I can pinpoint why women don't write for men. I think it might have to do with women. Oh, she lost. Oh, she's back. I think it has to do with, it could possibly be the fact that women have not been portrayed correctly for so long that we just kind of feel like, oh, I could get this character right, so I'm going to write a woman from my perspective. You know what I mean? Like I don't really care about writing about men because there's been male stories for how long? You know, like that's not the focus, I don't think. And I think it's more that, and then as opposed to them being pigeonholed. I also feel like it's more fun to write about what I know than a man. Like I could, like, I don't know, my boyfriend's thinking half the time anyways.
I guess it's easier to write, like, for me, if I ever was to write a story, I would write a female character because that's what I know, you know.
But I guess I'm just bringing up like the opportunity, I guess. Doesn't seem like it's as available as it is the other way around. Not necessarily that they have to do it, but just saying, like, is a woman ever going to be offered to write Batman? I don't know.
But that's it. Is it because we said that there's not a lot of female writer who writes male characters?
They want to.
but is it because they don't want to, or they don't have the opportunity to do so? You know,
I think
because we don't have enough.
I think it might be a little bit both. I think that the big two are so old and grandfathered into each other's little spaces that they probably just like consort with who they know and what they know. And I don't even read a lot of the big two. I read a lot of if I read Marvel, it's usually something by Hickman because it's more indie driven. Like it's more it's a little more indie like than it is Marvel to me. And I don't read a lot of DC. I think Amethyst, the new Amethyst comic, might be by a woman, but I haven't read that yet, so I'm unaware. Even Naomi, the newest DC character, was written by a man. And it's crazy, right?
Wait, what?
Yeah, it was written by a man. She's a teenage girl. He got her. I mean,
that's kind of weird. I don't know.
It's a little weird. I liked the story. I thought it was a very good story. I want to say though that she didn't have like too much complex dialogue though, so it wasn't like we had to figure out, like, she wasn't struggling through any kind of like significant, like she found that she was from another dimension. That's a different thing. Spoiler alert. I don't know if y'all read that, but she found that she's from another dimension and she has superpowers, but that was it. Like, she didn't have to struggle with something that was innately woman, like, or that had to do with womanhood. So it's just interesting to me. Like, so I didn't have too much of a problem with that. I don't know. It's just I can't think of a female writer for the big two that's written a big book. Like I have no idea. I can't even think of one. I'm sure somebody will check us in the comments though.
I know.
And if they do, I welcome it. Like, I don't even care. Like, I feel like they care. Like, you're like, oh, let me destroy your argument. Like, no, if you have some, please tell me, because I would like to expand my knowledge.
For me, I would like to know.
It's all about conversation, right? So we're all here to discuss. So I mean, if you have any ideas or arguments, please write them in the comments. But you said something really interesting. You said no woman wrote a big well, how did you say this? Like big stories, like for example, no woman wrote Batman or Superman or stuff like that. Do you think it's because there's no, like Tom King, he's a big name, right? Is it because there's not a female equivalent? Like, there's not you know, like we have big female writer, but are they as big as, for example, Tom King or Brian Kay and stuff like that? You know what I mean? Are we still not there yet?
I think that we might be getting there with some of the bigger names like Gabby Rivera, Kelly DeConnick,
Mhm.
some of those women. I think that Fiona Staples as an artist has a
Yeah.
lot of name
Oh yeah,
recognition. Marjorie Lau has a lot of name recognition because of Monsters, and I think that in the indie world, those names go a long way.
Yeah.
I think Marjorie Lau wrote some. She did write for Marvel at one point, but I don't think it was a bigger comic. I think it was
it
like a
wasn't
smaller.
it wasn't big. It was something small. I don't remember, but it was something small.
Yeah, she wrote for Marvel a little bit. So I think in the space that she is in now, she's in the position to write for
Yeah.
a bigger story because of how successful Monsters was, in my opinion. But yeah, I don't see many women as being on the level of Tom King, but I think it's mainly just because of exposure, not because they're not good enough. And that's what sucks. Like that's the worst part of that, because you're like, they're all good. Nobody wants to read them though because they're like, it might be good. Like, you know,
I've been seeing Jen Bartel pop up in a lot of stuff.
that name
Yeah, it's true.
coming up. What did she write? And it's like
She's
I've been meaning to
Blackbird.
Google her.
She's
Blackbird, the artist for Blackbird.
yeah,
Okay.
Blackbird. She's
I
the
didn't read
artist, no?
Blackbird. But that name has been popping up a whole lot, and I'm like, where have I heard that? Like,
Yeah, and then Jenny Friesen, I think that's her name.
Yeah, I don't know how to pronounce her last name because I pronounce it in French. I don't know if this is the right.
It's probably more correct your way, but
I'm
yeah.
about to say you're probably the most right.
But those two, I've been seeing them pop up a lot, and I'm like, yay!
Jenny Frison, she did the covers for Something Is Killing the Children, and her variant cover is like selling like crazy. Like on eBay, it's like already like $500 or something like that. It's because it was a limited variant cover, and I guess I don't know if it's because it was her or because it was a limited one, but it really did great for her.
Honestly, some of the limited covers do really well because they're limited, and some of them flop hard. And I've seen that happen where I'm like, oh, I'm gonna get this limited edition variant, like blah blah, and it flops so hard, and I'm like, oh, why did I spend my money? Like, usually it's not so bad. Like I haven't like bought like the last like limited thing I bought was after the fact, and that was my Venom cover. But other than that, like I think that sometimes with variants, the quantity and the artist don't always go hand in hand. Sometimes I do. Like if it's an art germ cover, then that's obviously, if it's a limited edition of those, like that's obviously gonna go like crazy because amazing artist. But I don't know. I think it could have also been before the story. Was it for the Something Killing the Children? Was it for that book?
I don't know, because it was the first. She did the first issue of the very first one. So, and it was the first print, first issue. So it wasn't like a popular story yet. I don't know.
It could have gotten a lot of buzz. Sometimes the comic community is so sketch with buzz. Like sometimes like something, yeah, it is so interesting to me how like what things have buzz and what things don't generate buzz. It's like so, and
You
that's
never
why
know.
that's why I stopped collecting for a little bit, because I'm like, all right, I'm confusion. Like I don't follow a lot of blogs and stuff, so I feel like I just don't know. Like if I knew more, then maybe I would do a little bit better. But
honestly, most of the time it's just Ryan and Dylan like sending me things in my DMs and like, hey, check this out. I'm like, oh, all right, didn't know this existed.
I play the waiting game. I kind of wait a little bit after something's come out, because like I don't know, you and I talked about Jen, but like I'm very, oh my gosh, why is the garbage man here right now?
Oh, our garbage man came earlier. I hate it.
This is gonna be the best freaking recording of my life.
Highest quality. But anyway, as I was saying, like I'm very, I don't know, particular with what I buy in print. Because I live my life as kind of like a minimalist, and so for me, like I want it vetted before I decide I'm gonna go and buy it, like purchase it in paper form. So like if I've heard the buzz and people are like, okay, this is like good, I'm like, okay, well then it's safe for me to go ahead and purchase it or whatever. So
sorry, go ahead, Maya.
I was gonna say I used to have this app called Key Collectors. I'm pretty sure I still have Key Collectors. I think it was
I heard of that one. I heard weird
bad.
drawing system. I don't know.
It's not bad. They have like they'll like give you like hotkeys for the week so you know what to look for if people are having like buzz about it. I used to be really on top of it, and then my life was like, hey, you want to move 3 times in a year? And I was like, God damn. So I'm like not spending. That's a lot of the reason why I'm not buying new comics. Because, anyways, so I stopped collecting as much. I really want to get back into it once we get settled at our next duty station. So I just like I try to collect. If I were to buy now, it would be like very rarely. Like if it'll be like, oh, this exclusive thing came out, and it's something like a comic I like I've actually read. Then
Yeah.
like. So I used to collect a lot of Venom covers because I just really like Venom's character, but I don't so much anymore because I just don't have the money. Yeah.
But Abby, how would you describe your how would you describe a good female character? What's your characteristics?
I don't know. I'm not like too like picky. I mean, it's just I just need a good story, like a fun journey. I don't know, like she conquers something. I don't know, doesn't need anyone to do anything, like just do all her shit herself. Like I don't know, something that's just like uplifting, I guess. I don't know, but then again, I can read sad stuff too, so I don't know. I'm not really too, I guess, particular. It's all depends on just how it's written.
Yeah, like for me personally, I'm gonna say this, I don't really notice if it's a female or a male character. As like I read the story, and then at the end of the book, I'm like, oh, like I don't realize.
I don't pay attention to
exactly
the anything about,
But for example, when I read, I'm really sorry about that, but I hate Rat Queens. It's one of the series that I hate.
I don't like it either. I'm sorry.
But when I read Rat Queens, I know, like, first page, I notice that they are female characters. I don't know how to say this, but it's like there's something in it, Yeah,
I don't like in your face, like,
exactly.
Yeah, like, so.
I didn't feel that way about Rat Queens. I think for me, it was really like, the reason I liked Rat Queens so much was because the first 2 volumes I just thought was hilarious. Like, it wasn't really about them being women for me. It was more like, I love D&D. I play D&D a lot. And that's what it reminded me of. It was very reminiscent of a D&D game, just like.
See, maybe that's why I didn't like it, because I didn't like Die either because of that similar D&D thing, but it's just because I don't get it. Like, that's not like, I have no context of, what that is.
Makes sense. That makes sense. I do feel like sometimes Rat Queens kind of pushes the weird female narrative, but I don't think it does it so much. Like, they have like certain themes, like where one of their party members down the line, you find out they're trans, and that's fun. That's like a fun little side story. Like, you don't find it out until like way later in the issues. And like it's I don't get that feeling from it. I don't know why, but I can see why that would be off-putting to people, because like I don't like that like feminist rah like feeling. I hate that. Like, please don't. Like I'm a grown woman. I can make my choices on whether or not I like something, regardless of whether it's women or not. And like Jen said, I don't really care if a group of people or the story I'm reading is about women. Like, I will read the tagline and I'm like, oh, this sounds interesting, and I'll pick it up. If I don't like it, I won't finish reading it. If I really like it, then I will finish reading it. Like, it's not really about the orientation of the person in the book. Don't give a crap. And I hate when people think that like that's like the agenda, but like I promise you, if I have a lot of stories about women, that's just because I really enjoy those stories. It has nothing to do, like Lady Killer, such a good.
Oh yeah,
I just finished that yesterday.
And it's one of those stories about feminism that doesn't scream feminism in your face so much.
I really love Lady Killer. I really loved it because it gives me this feeling of power, I was like, you go girl, you go kill them. Like, I was like, But this is this is the type of story where I noticed that the character is female, because obviously it was a 1950s housewife, so you kind of have no choice to notice that it's the female character environment, construction, if I may say. But she was so cool. But she's written by a woman.
Yeah.
She's written by Joelle. I don't remember her last name.
Jones.
Yeah.
Joel Jones. I like that story so much because they had like the very poignant, in your face, like sexism that the 1950s
Yeah.
was. And they kind of just like, it was really like, they were just like, yeah, that exists, but she's like, fuck that. I'm just a
Yeah,
badass bitch.
just
Like,
gave
you know,
me
it's,
the finger. I
and
love
it, and it kind of like gave you that, like, also gave you that argument of, can you be a housewife and a working mom, but
Mhm.
like to the most extreme levels. Like, you know, like just the most extreme example of obviously you can have that duality, but like it was more like, I felt like it was like making a mockery of that argument, and that's what I really like about that story. It was like, obviously, but she's also an assassin, so if you need an example, fucking here you go. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's why I really like that story. It's so good to me. Like I loved like when she was like cleaning the house around, and like the TV would say something about women should be doing this and men should be doing that, and she's like sneaking out to go like do a rendezvous. I was like, I love this. This is so like in your face, very meta about like sexism, and I really like that. And that's like one of the very few that did it like right. And
Yeah.
other than that, I'm like, I don't know, this falls a little flat, but storytelling wise, phenomenal.
Well, I finished it and then was mad there wasn't more.
I haven't read volume 2. I'm pacing myself.
I got this beautiful hardcover.
Yes.
Is it the first 2 volumes?
Yes, the only 2.
The only
Is it
two.
only 2?
There's only 2, and it leaves you on a cliffhanger, and I'm like, no!
I know the cliffhanger was so
Don't
huge, and I was like,
How dare you?
Now I'm gonna read it tonight. You see what you've done?
aside from Lady Killer, who are your favorite female characters? Like the ones that are really well written, the one that you're like, yes, these are really great characters.
Well, all the female characters in Low are really good. Like,
I'm sorry, Abby, I hate Lo.
I loved Low, and then I stopped reading it, and I don't even know where I'm at. It was such a confusing book sometimes, but I did really like it when it first came out. I have the first 3 volumes. So
maybe I just like it because I did it all like in one massive like binge read, so like
I
it's
think so.
fresh in my brain. So maybe if you reread it, maybe you'll enjoy it.
Maybe.
But, you know, you've got all these different female characters, and they're all going on their different journeys, and then they all eventually meet up, and it's kind of like interesting to see these 3 vastly different women and how they interact in this aquatic apocalyptic world.
Interesting.
I want to say my favorite female character was Jane Foster for Thor, who then came to be Valkyrie. I really liked her writing, and I thought it would be Alana from Saga, but she has a few pitfalls in her character development that I don't really like. I think that Alana could have been like, I don't know if you guys read volume 7 of Saga, because that one, did you guys read that?
No, not yet. I know what happened, but I haven't read it yet.
Okay, I don't want to talk about it then. But like that volume was huge for her development, and but it didn't transpire that way to me in the story, that she had any kind of like large like epiphany or like transformative experience. Like the thing she went through was very traumatic, but I don't think it changed her as a person, and that's what bothers me about her character in the last few books. So yeah, I like her character, but she had some pitfalls. I think Jane Foster Thor probably my favorite, because she was strong and she was like getting shit done in the face of adversity, and like they didn't do anything really to like make her seem like she was like too much of a female character. She was Thor, and that was it. You know what I mean? And she had cancer, and that was it. Like, those were her story arcs, and it wasn't about her being a lady. Like, every once in a while, they make comments like, I thought Thor was a dude. And she's like, well, not now. Like, obviously. And that was, like, the end of the conversation. Like, I really loved her iteration of Thor. Like, I thought that was really good. And I'm trying to think of other ones. I actually have 2 other really favorite female characters. But they're in a BDSM book, so we won't talk about that. Love this book.
Nice. So let's talk about you personally. Have you had, because we talked about this, I talked with this individually, like how do you are, for example, when you go in conventions, you as a nerd, how your experience is different from what you can compare with a male nerd, if I may say. So for example, going to the stores, going to conventions and stuff like that. Like it's for example in cosplays, and stuff, and stuff like that, or even just going to the bookstore and like being diminished because you're a woman who reads comics and you don't seem like you're the type of readership that they are looking for or something like that.
I guess I'll go first. Well, I mean, I'm fortunate that my comic shop, even though it's ran by like 4 dudes, like they're all super nice guys. And like when I went in there the first time, it was never a weird like, oh, you're a girl, what are you doing here? Like they were like, oh my gosh, you're interested in comics? Come with me. Like, and it was like this magical world that just opened up because they were so like happy that I was there. And like every time I walk in there, they always say hi to me. Hey, Abby, how you doing? Like, what are you looking for this time? Like, I just tell them what kind of characters I'm looking for, and then they recommend me good stuff, you know? And if they get something new, they message me on Instagram. They're like, hey, we got this. Are you interested in that? You know? And so, but I've had weird like instances with like the people who shop there for sure, where I'll be looking at something and I'm about to grab it, and then they're like, ooh, let me grab that in front of you. And I'm like, I was here first. Like,
you would have got.
But I think that's just
like
human being, like a genuine human, like a human being.
I have noticed dudes like hovering over me sometimes, like, oh, look at this.
Oh, yeah.
You know, can't figure out what she wants. And I'm like, well, there's a lot of options, but I'm also looking at, you know, multiple things. You can go your own way. But I mean, in terms of like the community itself, though, like I've gone to Comic-Con a couple times, but I've always sort of gone with like a male nerd friend. And I don't know if that's some weird insecurity that I have or whatever, but they've always sort of like helped me, I guess, repel any like,
I don't think it's weird, but yeah,
any weirdness that there might be, you know. So I don't know, I feel like I've kind of almost been shielded, I guess, from a lot of weird stuff.
Your cat just catapulted herself into
Love
the screen.
Why is he just giving us all booty?
I want to say, con-wise, I don't like conventions, period, because your girl is afraid of crowds, and I have real bad anxiety, which is funny because I feel like a lot of people wouldn't think that about me. Like, I love socializing with people. I just don't like being
in a crowd
place with very little egress and smells and, you know, all kinds of stuff. Like, I get overstimulated very easy. So I just don't like cons in general. Comic book shops, though, the first shop that I went to in New Jersey, I talked about this a little bit before, when I moved back to New Jersey, the dudes in there were super nice. Like, I would literally stand there and talk to them for hours because I had nothing. I had like really no friends because I just moved back to New Jersey, and this shop was like 45 minutes from my house, but it was the only comic book shop that I was willing to go to. And they would just talk to me for like an hour about like all the new movies that came out and what I was looking for. And like, they really got to know me, like to a point where I would literally come in there and shop. And like, if I brought friends, they're like, oh my gosh, Maya brought another friend. What are they gonna like? They're like, we're so sorry she brought you. She's gonna be in here for like 3 hours. Like, you know, like they really got to know me, and I appreciated that. I've been to like a few stores where like I'm just flat out ignored. I hate that. Like, cause I like talking about comics, and before I got into Instagram, I would just try and talk to people within like real life in the community about comics. And like I said, I have been to stores where people just ignore me or like think I'm weird because I'm trying to talk to them. And that was like even pre-COVID, like, you know, it was just like awkward. I've actually met, like I said, I met Nas Pacino in real life when I was in New York and I was shopping for comics, and he turned out to be a really nice guy, and we talked for a really long time. But like I want to say, like, customer wise, it really depends on where I'm at. Like, Jersey was kind of weird. Like, sometimes customers would be weird. I've been to a few, like one comic shop where it was ran by a dad and his daughter. And so she was really nice. And she was all like, you know, she's like, she was super nice. I can't say that I've been discriminated against too heavily in the comic book community because it's such a small community. Like, I feel like if you're trying to be a hater in the comic book community, you got problems. Like,
yeah.
Like,
but you know,
I don't even notice your existence. Like,
this leads me to something that I've talked about this before, but I'm gonna keep talking about this because it makes me so angry. But this Wonder Woman cover, okay?
Which one?
This Wonder Woman cover, the variant cover, that was posted on Twitter, and then the whole fandom started like hating on it because the Wonder Woman wasn't represented as this like
the ideal, you know, quote
exactly
ideal woman, yeah.
And like,
I mean,
that really pisses me off.
I don't go on Twitter. I don't like. It's not on my phone. I mean, I have it. I have an account or whatever, and I go on there and I look at memes, but I don't spend more than like 10 minutes on Twitter because it's trash.
Which Wonder Woman cover was it? Do you know what number it was?
Yeah, let me grab that for you real quick.
So much stuff. If I just type in Wonder Woman, so much.
Jesus. It was actually Mars from That Comic Girl who showed it to me. And then she shared it on her profile on Twitter. And I was like, and people started like commenting on her Twitter post, like really hurtful things. And I was like, listen,
really?
Don't get me angry, guys.
What the hell is wrong with people? Like, I don't understand like why you can't just mind your fucking business. Like, if you don't like it, it's so easy to just scroll away.
So it's the Wonder Woman variant cover made by Robin Heisenberg. It's this one.
Oh, what the hell? Like, why does it matter? It's pretty. Why does it matter?
Yeah, I don't understand why people, it's like, if you don't like something, like, don't buy it then and just move on with your life. Like, why is it all salty? Like,
the thing that really bothered me was how the commenters said that it was clearly a cover made for female readers.
Wonder Woman's a fucking female.
She's a woman.
She's a woman.
Exactly.
She's for everybody. What you mean?
They said that it ruined everything for the original readers, who are mostly men.
And it's so funny.
Salty old dudes.
Wonder Woman was created by a dude who was in a polyamorous relationship with two women for those women. So y'all can go suck dick. So.
But that's the thing, is that why, like, let's just stop this argument right here that women are not part of the original readers of comic books, because that's not true.
Because we're here now.
Exactly. Oh my god.
Move over, bitch. I'm here to stay.
I know. And they love us. That's the crazy part. So many, like, and this is gonna be like all tea, all shade. So many like male comic book readers in the comic book community be trying to get at us, and then they find out we have boyfriends, and then they unfollow us because they're sad. Like
all the time.
Get your goddamn life, and then you want to come and talk about how I'm not a rich. Like, get out of my face. He was just in my DMs. Get out of my face. Like, I can't. The hypocrisy is just ridiculous. Like, you're their best friend until you don't want to like sleep with them. Like, I just don't understand that. Like, it's ridiculous to me. That's just I can't. That upsets me.
But it is upsetting, and I guess like, yeah, I talk about this all the time, and I guess like most of my followers are going to be tired now of hearing me saying this, but like, it's important to talk about these subjects, either it's diversity, inclusivity, or stuff like that. It's important because these are still happening, and like, these comments are still being said, and we are still getting judged in some certain stores or online and stuff like that, and like, it needs to stop. So like, that's why I keep talking about it.
I saw this meme earlier on this Facebook group called Planet of the Extraordinary Black Nerd. Great Facebook group. It's just like a bunch of, people talking about nerd stuff. And this guy was apparently messaging this girl. She had on a hat from a popular anime, and he goes, "Oh, you're kind of cute. Bonus points if you know where your hat is from." And she's like, "Why would I have bought the hat if I didn't know what show it was from?" And it was just so stupid. And I was like, and he goes, and then he goes, takes out pen, clicks it to take notes. I was like, that is the lamest shit I ever heard.
But it happens all the time. Like, if you wear a certain shirt, like if you wear, for example, I don't know, like a Star Wars reference or something like that, and then people are like, do you at least know what you're wearing? Like, of course I knew what I'm wearing. Like, what do you mean? It happens all the time. But
yeah.
I'm like, why are you like this? Just leave me alone. You should mind your business. You do not have to talk to me. Like, I just don't.
But this is really all fun. Like, I love talking to you guys. And how would you say it? So we still have some things to change. We still have some things to improve, obviously. But I guess like what we can get from this conversation is that in terms of representation, we're good. I mean, we still have work in progress, but it's better than it was in like 20 years ago.
Well, in the
Way better.
year, yes, for sure.
Yeah.
But definitely not the big two.
Yeah,
But
it's
exactly.
definitely the big two.
Not
you
the
know,
big two.
I read Heathen recently because it was so freaking good, and I realized that the way the female characters
Okay,
were
who?
drawn.
Let's just pause right here. Please mention who told you to read
Oh my
it.
god! Even in I did a rundown video of what I read this week, and I was like, Jen bullied me and told me to read it.
I laughed so hard when I saw that.
Cyber bullied me into reading it, and I'm so glad. But the characters are drawn like flat chested, no body whatsoever. I'm like, yes, girl. Like not, and then like Brendel is drawn like voluptuous and curvy, but then Freya is also drawn kind of like skinny and like no, like not really a lot of curves. And I love that. I was like, it's nice to see, even though they're kind of skimpily clad, not see like one same body on every single person. Like, and I know that's like one of those like kind of mythical talking points, I guess, for some people. Like that doesn't really concern a lot of people. But for me, it's more like I don't mind, but it's nice to see that variety in people where, because women don't all look the same. And it sucks that we get portrayed as like big titties, like somehow still a flat tummy and the same thickness of the thighs. You're like, this is not a normal body. Like,
Well, for me, I'm a forgetful person. So if all the characters look the same, I'm like, who's who?
Yeah, literally. I'm
same.
like, wait, but then then they all have like the same hair color. You're like, what is happening? Like, what is happening? Yeah, it's like it's low key frustrating. Like I will say, like that's one thing that I do kind of like. I don't appreciate that in a lot of comic books is that the body types and just like body ideals, like especially in the big two, like seeing some of the female characters just be like extra sexy all the time, and you're just like. And then there's Sex Criminals, Susie and Sex Criminals, and she's kind of built like a brick. Like, but I like that. Like, that's how I feel sometimes, Like, It's nice. It's refreshing sometimes to see that. And even though, and it's nice to see that, like, bodies can look different and, like, seeing someone ultra skinny, like, that's not something you see in a lot of comic books either. Is someone who's very, very thin and has, like, no body whatsoever. And then somebody who's just, like, normally shaped, And it's not, like, those two extremes. It's annoying.
Very agree with that. I guess I mean I don't care if the person has big boobs or whatever, as long as it's not the only thing you see. Like it's not the only body shape in the world. Like you can if you want to draw a woman with big boobs, go for it, but don't only draw that as an artist. But like as an artist, it's a shame to stick to the same things. You're never going to learn new things and new techniques if you stick to the same like figures. And as myself, a fan and a reader, I don't want to see always the same thing either. So it's all about finding a good balance, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Why would you go that way? Why would you go that way? There's no way. Come over here. My dog's stupid. Come over here.
At least it doesn't fly like my cat.
No, she will. She's just being nice right now. She's being calm.
You guys with your pets, and I'm over here like, love me, plants.
She's a moose. She clomping on everything.
But I want to ask you, do you think, because that's something that I'm gonna I guess I've said it before. I need to stop, like Adi said, like in a personal conversation, I need to stop apologizing for everything. But I hate Marvel and DC because I feel like they are cowards, and I feel like they don't want to improve, because every time they try to improve, they get yelled at from the, let's just say the wannabe true readers.
I think they need to just stop listening to them, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think I know, but Marvel and DC, they still they keep listening to them. They don't improve,
Well, what I don't understand is why they don't just offer more options. Like, for example, you look at Spider-Man. You can have Peter Parker and Miles Morales at the same time.
They literally exist in the same universe, though.
Why do you I don't know. Why do you only give yourself like one particular character that people can like follow? Because I think that's why a lot of people get mad. Because they're like, well, I only like this person as Spider-Man, or I only like this person as whatever character. And so when they branch out and have another person take that mantle, then they're like, well, now I'm mad because I don't have anything to read. So it's like, but at the same time, you do want to appeal to new readers. So like, why don't you just have more than one character that's doing the same role? They can be different universes or whatever. Then you're kind of making everybody happy. I don't know.
Which is interesting because Marvel, and I don't know if DC, but Marvel definitely has the multiverse in their their
it's a thing. So like, why limit yourself?
And that's why I don't understand how fans get so mad about things being different, because the multiverse is a thing that exists for Marvel readers. So like, why are you mad though? Like, you literally can just go read another one of those iterations. Like, nobody's stopping you. Like, you can go give your money to
Yeah.
Spider-Man number
Yeah,
37.
you got Spider-Man, Miles Morales, Spider-Gwen, like options for everyone. Like just let them all run. Like why give people only one option of whatever that hero is to read?
And it's not like they can't afford to print them all at the same time. Like, they're owned by Disney. Y'all can print all of them at the same daggone time.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Don't even get started on Disney, okay?
Would you like to see though, like a character? I don't know how if it's called a cross. No, it's not a crossover. How is it called when you change, like, for example, would you like to see like
swap?
yeah, exactly, a gender swap of a specific character, even if like some readers are gonna burn the city if they change, for example, Batman as a female or something like that. Do you think it could be interesting, or you don't really care?
I don't know. I don't like the tokenization, I guess. Like, let's just flip someone just for the sake of flipping it. Like, that seems stupid and pointless to me. Like, why don't you just create a new character? I don't know. Like, come up with something original and new. Like, why just recycle the same shit over and over again and change one detail about it?
I enjoy when, like, artists, like solo artists, will do like a gender bent version of something. Like, drawing a gender bent version of something is fine. I think that swapping the characters entirely is a little bit too much. Like, Jane Foster Thor made sense. That's
if there's a reason for it, then
right.
Don't
there's no reason
of doing it. Like,
okay, but
if they're like,
serious question here. You said y'all are gonna hate me for this. You said that you don't like when they like stop recycling everything, but like, aren't they always recycling their stuff? Like coming up with new Batman stories and new Superman stories. I mean, they only do that.
How many times do we need to see Uncle Ben die? Or how many times do I need to see Bruce Wayne's parents die? Like, can we move on, please?
Yeah. I think that in X-Men, let's talk about X-Men, talk about recycling shit.
Yeah.
X-Men is the queen of the recycled storyline. They not recycled storyline, but like they tried it with this last iteration of Powers of X and House of X. They were like, well, we're gonna retcon all that because they're gonna merge into one new universe, and all of that happened, but it didn't. And you're like, what the hell? Like, all right, X-Men, y'all got it. We get it. Like, we got you. That's fine. Y'all realize y'all did too much too fast.
Go home, X-Men. You're drunk.
That's what they did with House of Powers. They literally said that all of the iterations of X-Men, all of the different, revamps of X-Men all happened because Moira McTaggart is a mutant, and she has lived through all these different timelines and all these different universes, and that's why the multiverse exists. And this is their last chance to save mutant kind. And that's what they did. And I was like, all right, I guess. Like, I was like, I literally don't know what I'm reading half the time. I'm not gonna lie to y'all. Like, I just feel like, all right, Hickman wrote House of X is really good. Powers was confusing as hell. I was like 5 issues deep, and I was like, what the hell are we going on? I don't even know who these people are. I don't know where we're at. Like, it's a very confusing book. Yeah, I don't like the recycling. I think that it's just a cheap move. It's like,
that's what
infinite possibilities of the human brain. Like, you could come up with so many things. Like, and I just feel like it's just lame and lazy. Like, indie comics has been doing that forever, making up new shit all the time, figuring out new storylines, and Marvel's still here with the same goddamn Spider-Man. We got a problem, and then they made Captain America black, and they were like, wow, look at us.
Yeah.
Wow, look at us. Brand new, so original, Black Captain America. We are like crossing the borders.
We're doing it, guys. Like, oh man, yeah, I don't like recycled stuff. I think it's lazy, and then
it's lazy.
Totally lazy.
I just feel like, why is it too hard to ask? Why can't we have new female characters for Marvel and DC? can they invent a new female superhero? You know what I
Well,
mean?
DC did with Naomi, and I think that was after like years of people trying to figure out if they're going to release new people. But they kind of spoiled Naomi's newness by introducing Amethyst, because they introduced Amethyst like a couple, like this year or either last year or this year, as another new DC character. So I mean, they're trying, I guess, to kind of branch out into like, let's create some more female characters, but they're just gonna be Teen Titans, and you're like, that's not
You're like,
what we wanted.
hmm.
Nobody asked for that. I want an adult woman female character, my guy. I don't want Catwoman 8 more times.
Love her, but we're done.
Yeah, man. Speaking of Catwoman, I do not like Robert Pattinson as Batman, and that's all I'm gonna say about that.
Ooh.
That's I don't want to say it on my Instagram because people are gonna come for me. I'm gonna say it here though.
You're gonna say it here.
I'm gonna say it here because I'm brave. Oh man, I am excited for Zoe Kravitz though. She's gonna be dope. But
yeah,
rest of that.
So we are already 50 minutes in.
Oh.
It feels like talking to you guys is like 2 seconds all the time. It's like so let's conclude. I would say that from what I got from this conversation is that the indie comic world is a little bit more open to having different female characters, but not just female characters, but diversity in general, I feel.
Yeah.
And I guess what I would like to see in the future is either more female writer or female artists doing big name or franchise and stuff like that. And I just want to keep reading comic and like enjoying the medium without having this like forced feminist thing pushed down my throat, you know? Like I enjoyed right now what is happening. I just want a little bit more writers, a little bit more creators, and a little bit more characters. What's your thoughts? Your final thoughts.
I agree. Forced feminism is whack. We know what we do, and y'all don't gotta spoon feed us. I feel like indie comics got it on lock with female characters. Marvel and DC step your game up, because that shit ain't it. That's all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I agree. Same sentiment. Just, it's like, why this shouldn't be this difficult.
Exactly. I feel like if they don't up their game, they're at some point those old people who keeps loving their old content, they're gonna disappear, and Marvel and DC are gonna struggle to keep this new modern readership going. You know, I know that this is an unpopular opinion that I have, but I feel like Marvel and DC at some point they need to do something because they won't last.
Well, I mean, they're all gonna die out eventually, and it's like, why? I don't know. Why aren't you appealing to everybody? It's just my question. Like, why limit yourself to these old people, you know, salty people? Like, why don't you just branch out to everyone? Like,
yeah,
I really like that.
All people, everyone. So
that's amazing. So I guess that we're gonna get canceled and deleted, and I'm gonna have like 10,000 unfollows, or I'm gonna have a shit tons of comments to answer down this video conversation. But yeah, so don't be shy. I know nobody's shy when I talk about Marvel and DC, but leave comments. I'm gonna answer everyone. If you have different opinions, please share them, because I'm really curious to learn more about this situation that we have right now.
Yeah.
But overall, yeah, I'm really happy to have you guys again on my accounts. It's really nice to talk with you again, and I just want more and more and more content with you guys.
Yay.
So on that note, I guess that's the end of our little chat, and I'll be back soon with even more and more different content and videos. So stay tuned.